Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. Today I'm going to show you the third card that I made this week using the Apron of Love stamp set. And as a reminder, the Apron of Love stamp set is my February stamp of the month. And if you purchase this stamp set and the bundle, it comes with coordinating framelits. If you purchase that from my website by February 10th, you will receive absolutely free from me product to make 3 cards. One is this Mother's Day card. Another is this card for Dad. It could be for Father's Day. It could just be because you love Dad. And another one is this note card that says, I love baking, excuse me, be perfect to accompany homemade goods. And so today we're going to make this one here, and this stamp set is just filled with great images. It has an apron, it has made with love, thanks for being there in a pinch, and it has this oven mitt, and it has an apron, 2 different types of aprons, a scallopy one for a woman and then a rectangular one, and it has sentiments, get well soon, thinking of you, I love baking, I love stamping, I love barbecue, made with love, and it has these great scissors. But today we're not going to use any of the stamps. We are only going to use the coordinating dies. And look at this sheet of dies. It has 17 dies. So almost everything that is a stamped image can also be cut out. Today we're going to use the apron, the bow, the neck piece of the apron, both of the hearts, the large pocket, and the small pocket, as well as the scissors. And then we still have all these left over. There's the apron ties, the mitt, the scalloped apron, a rolling pin, a nice little scalloped edge there, some flowers, a rectangular pocket, a set of baking utensils, and a set of barbecue utensils. So these are just great. I just love this set. For stamps, we are going to use this. This came out in last year's, the current annual catalog. It's called Crafting Forever, and I think it works really nicely with the Apron of Love. We're going to use this one here that says we are cut out to be friends, and the scissors. Those are a great combination to go with this theme here. And this is great. I just love this. I made a set of note cards using this one before, and I encourage you to look on my blog. That's a great one. But anyway, so let's get started with this one. And what we need for supplies is a piece of thick Whisper White, and this is cut your typical A2 size, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. We have a piece of Mill & Mambo, which is cut 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and we have a piece of Whisper White, which is cut 3 3/4 by 5. I also have just some scrap white and Mill & Mambo, and my apron is made using this beautiful striped paper. I just love this paper, and it is one of the celebration freebies that you can get. It coordinates with the Bubble Over bundle. It's called Bubbles and Fizz, I believe, and it's free with a $50 purchase during celebration. And we also need some Versamark, some silver embossing powder, and for framelits, I'm using from the Stitched Shapes framelit, which is a great set, is the Stitched Square, and from the layering squares, we're going to use this square piece. So let's get started on what we have to do. I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper to protect my surface, and the first thing I'm going to do is emboss this Whisper White. And it's a lot of embossing, and I'm going to stamp up my scissors, the image of the scissors, and I'm going to randomly place it all over this piece of Whisper White, and then I'm going to emboss it with silver. So I know this is kind of hard to see. It's hard to see for me as well, and I'm right over it. And I'm, like I said, I'm just going to move my stamp around. I don't want it to have any kind of pattern. And I'm keeping my scissors going in all different directions. Let me see here where we are. And when you're stamping and embossing a large piece of cardstock like this, sometimes it does get a little difficult. You don't really know where to hold on to it without smudging your embossing, but just do the best that you can. Okay, and that's that. Now I'm going to use my tweezers and try to find a spot, okay, right there where there is no stamping, and I'm going to sprinkle my silver embossing powder all over that, and then I'm going to shake it off. And if there's anything, any little strays of silver embossing powder, I'm going to flick it. And then if there's still any, I'm going to, now that I can see where my embossing is, I'm going to be careful as I hold it. I'm just going to use a little paintbrush and brush it off. Now I'm going to heat emboss this, and I'm not going to have you watch me heat emboss the whole thing because that'd be pretty boring, wouldn't it? So what I'm going to do is get it started, and then I'm going to go off camera and I'll finish heat embossing. I just love the silver embossing powder. And it's funny, I had a class last weekend, and we made a project that was heat embossed with, I believe it was the gold embossing powder, and one of my customers said, "This never gets old. It's like magic every time we do it." And I agree with her 100%. Once it gets started and you just get it moving, it's just gorgeous. All right, I'm going to go off camera. I'll be right back when this is done. Okay, and there's our background. Isn't that pretty with all the shiny scissors? That scissors usually do shine. They're silver, they're gold, they're some kind of metal, and I thought that embossing these with the silver embossing powder was going to be perfect. So now I'm going to put that aside, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scrap piece of white, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment that says, "We are cut out to be friends," and I'm going to stamp that right in the middle of that because I know I'm going to cut it out into a square. But for the time being, it's going to be on a circle. And I'm going to emboss this one as well. I like to get my embossing done and out of the way. I craft the way I organize, like things together. I'm going to do all my embossing first, and I'm going to do all my die cutting. Usually it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, now my heat gun is nice and warm, so this will emboss in just a minute. And you know, for a while there I was thinking, oh, I think I'm doing too much heat embossing on my videos. I didn't want to be boring. And as I was thinking that I was going to cut back on my heat embossing, one of my YouTube followers messaged me, and she said, "Thank you so much for all the heat embossing you're doing." She says, "I have so many products to heat emboss and I never think to do it." She said she had forgotten how nice it looked on the cards and what a great effect it had on it. So I'm glad I was able to help someone else enjoy the beauty of heat embossing, because I do think it's such an easy way to add such depth and dimension to a project. Okay, so that's all done. Now I'm going to do all my die cutting. I'm going to go over to my Big Shot, and on my striped paper I'm going to cut out my apron and my pocket. Those will both fit like that. I'm going to cut out my bow. I'm going to cut out a small pocket, and I'm going to cut out my neck piece for my apron. Then on a piece of scrap melon mambo, excuse me, I'm going to cut out my 2 hearts, as well as my stitched square. And I'm going to cut my hearts out in the middle of my stitched square because that's going to just be covered up, so I don't need, it doesn't matter if that's cut up. Then I'm also going to bring over my embossed sentiment, and I'm going to cut that out with the square. And then on a piece of scrap silver, I'm going to cut out 2 pair of scissors. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with all of my pieces, so now we're going to start assembling. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my scissor embossed card front to the melon mambo matting piece. I actually probably could have cut my melon mambo pieces out of this to save some paper, but I didn't even think of it. Okay, there's that. And now before I mount this onto my card front, I'm going to cut a bow, a faux bow. My fingers haven't been working for me lately, so I can't tie bows. I'm going to take my, this is just a melon mambo ribbon, cotton ribbon that's retired. I'm going to take my ribbons, put the long one on the bottom and the shorter one going across it, make a T, and then I'm going to come in and tie this. And after I pull it nicely, I turn it over and there's a perfect knot. So I'm going to put some snail on the edges and then line my bow up right about here. And bring those pieces back. And then come in and trim my tails. I also want to trim this in the back. I had it a little too much. Now I'm going to attach this to my card base. Now the first thing I'm going to put together is my sentiment, because I want to place that in the corner so that I know I end up leaving enough room for it. So I'm going to put a little snail on that, and then I'm going to center that in my stitched shape square, and then I'm going to attach that to my card front. I'm going to put it right up about here. And I'm going to put my scissors on last because I'm going to do all of my fine tip gluing together at the same time. So now what I'm going to do with my Bermuda Bay stamp pad and a sponge dauber, I'm just going to go around and outline my apron and the pockets just so that it has a little jump. It doesn't blend right into my background. And then the top. Now I'm ready to start gluing, and I highly recommend a fine tip glue and a silicone mat. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is turn our apron over, and with the fine tip glue we're going to put 2 dots up on the top of the apron, and then we're going to sit the ends of this neck piece right in those puddles of glue. Okay, then we're going to tip it over, and right in the center here I'm going to add a little bit more glue, and we're going to place our bow, and that way it looks like our apron neck piece is tied. Okay. Now on our large pocket, we're going to put a little bit of glue in the middle, and we're going to drop our large heart in. And on the small pocket, we're going to put a little bit of glue and drop, this one I need my tweezers for because it's so tiny. I'm going to drop the little heart in. Okay, and now I'm going to attach my scissors to the top part up here, and I'm just going to offset it just a tiny bit and press down. And I do have to attach my apron pockets in on my apron before I can glue my my other scissors in. So I'm going to use mini dimensionals, and I'm going to put 3 of them on the back of this pocket. And I think the sponging around the pocket and then the dimensionals on the pocket just makes the apron look like, makes it come to life. Okay, so now we're going to take our last pair of scissors, and I'm going to slip it into the pocket with just like that. I'm going to let that sit for just a second while I cap my fine tip glue. Now I'm going to take one more mini dimensional, and I'm going to attach my smaller pocket as well. And that just fits back there. Put that right there. And now with some snail, I'm going to position my apron right here. And there we go. We are cut out to be friends. Now this one here, you can use this for so many different things. Imagine if you have a hairdresser who's your friend. Hairdressers usually wear black aprons. Do this in black aprons. And the scissors work beautifully because hairdressers use scissors to cut your hair, right? If you have someone that you stamp with, this is perfect. You could, there is in the Crafting Forever stamp set, there is this little Stampin' Up copyright. You could certainly just drop that in here. So if she's your Stampin' Up buddy, you can use this for so many different things. I just love it. So actually, even if you have a friend who is a quilter or a seamstress, here you go. Perfect. So I hope you enjoyed this project. If you have any questions about the project or any of the products that I use, please contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com, and I encourage you to go to my blog and click on the tab that says newsletter and subscribe to my newsletter. I do send one out every Tuesday, and it has a recap of all of the projects that I've posted on video the week on YouTube, the week before, with a link to the YouTube video, and it also has notices of promotions and sales that Stampin' Up is having. In addition, it has information about the programs that I run just for my customers. I have a Refer a Friend program where you earn dollars off for referring new friends to me. And I also have a frequent buyer program where you earn a point for every $25 you spend with me, and then after a certain amount of points are accumulated, you can turn them in for free stamp sets. So all that information is in my newsletter. So have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this week's projects, and I'll catch you back here next week. Bye-bye.